Here we are at video 8, ratio and proportion. Now listen to those words, ratio and proportion. Can you tell me what a ratio is? Ratio, you spell it R-A-T-I-O. Anybody know what a ratio is? Well, a ratio is a comparison. Now let's say that I had 3 pens to 1 pencil in my desk. Well, the ratio of pens to pencils would be 3 to 1, or 3 is to 1. You can write it fraction form, or you can write it straight out, just like this. And the opposite way, we'd have 1 pencil to 3 pens. 1 is to 3, or 1 is to 3. These are ratios, and ratios can be written in fraction form or just like this. Now, I want to tell you a lot about ratios, so get ready, because what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to look at the farmhouses on the board. Now, take a look at these farmhouses on the board. Can you see them? In this farmhouse, we have 1 chicken to 2 pigs, or 1 chicken to 2 pigs, or we could write it 1 is to 2. And in this farmhouse, this is farmhouse number 2, we have 2 chickens to 4 pigs, or we could write it 2 is to 4. And in this farmhouse, we have 3 chickens to 6 pigs, and we could write that 3 is to 6. And in the next farmhouse, farmhouse number 4, we have 4 chickens to 12 pigs, which we could write 4 is to 12. Now take a look at these farmhouses. Farmhouse 1, farmhouse 2, farmhouse 3, and oh, excuse me, I forgot to put in the number 4. Farmhouse number 4. Can you tell me which one of these farmhouses is different for reasons of ratio and proportion? If they were all on the same ratio and proportion block, which one shouldn't be there? Can you tell me? Take a look, take a look, take a look. Is it farmhouse number 1? Do you think it's farmhouse number 2? Come on, take a guess. Do you think it might be farmhouse number 3? Or is it farmhouse number 4? Take a look. Which one do you think? Now, if you said farmhouse number 4, you're right. It's farmhouse number 4, and I'm going to show you why. Now, take a look at this farmhouse. In this farmhouse, we have 1 chicken for every 2 pigs. So the basic unit of structure is 1 chicken to 2 pigs. And in farmhouse number 2, for every 2 chickens, there are 4 pigs. But take a look at the basic unit of structure. It's 1 chicken to 2 pigs, 1 chicken to 2 pigs. In the third farmhouse, it's the same, except that there are 3 chickens and there are 6 pigs. But still, take a look. It's 1 chicken for every 2 pigs. The one that's different is farmhouse number 4, because here we have 4 chickens. But for every chicken, we have 3 pigs. So for every chicken, there are 3 pigs. So the basic unit of structure in this farmhouse is a lot different. It is 1 is to 3. Here is 1 is to 2, here's 1 is to 2, here's 1 is to 2. But here it's 1 chicken for every 3 pigs. So farmhouse number 4 is the one that is different. Now, the basic structure is different. I want you to remember that. Can somebody tell me, what is a proportion? We know what a ratio is. A ratio is a comparison, but what is a proportion? Can anybody tell me? If something is in proportion, it's in balance. A proportion is a balance. Now, I have to tell you that if I were to bake you a bread and the recipe called for 1/2 cup of honey for every 3 cups of wheat flour, and instead I put in 3 cups of honey for every 1 cup of wheat flour, that bread wouldn't taste so good, would it? So proportions are very important. They're important in cooking, they're important in life, and they're important with ratio and proportion. So take a look. I'm going to show you something else. Here we have 1 chicken for every 2 pigs. But now, with these 2 farmhouses, what we have is we have 2 chickens to 4 pigs really equals 1 to 2. Do you remember reducing? 2/4 reduced equals 1/2. Remember we talked about the 2 pies, and with this pie we have 4 slices and I'm getting 2 of them. And with this pie I have 2 slices and I'm getting 1 of them. And actually I'm getting the same amount except that there's 1 more slice right here. Well, here it is. 2/4 reduced equals 1/2. Well, these are really 2 ratios in proportion. They are 2 fractions balanced. And if they are truly in proportion, then we can multiply 2 times 2, and it will equal 4 times 1. And does it? 2 times 2 is 4. 4 times 1 is 4. So we can multiply 2 times 2, and it will equal 4 times 1. 4 times 1. Now take a look at something else. If we did it like this, 2 is to 4 as 1 is to 2. Well, then we could also multiply, and we could find out that the product of the means is equal to the product of the extremes. How's that for mathematical terms? 4 times 1 is 4. 2 times 2 is 4. Does 4 equal 4? Oh, it sure does. So 2/4 equals 1/2, and that means that they are in proportion. Let's see if this farmhouse is in proportion with those two farmhouses. Does 3/6 equal 1/2? Sure it does. And if it really does, if these fractions are truly in proportion, then 6 times 1 will have to equal 2 times 3. 6 times 1 has to equal 3 times 2. Does it? 6 sure does. 6 equals 6. So, and if we did it like this, 3 is to 6 as 1 is to 2. 6 times 1 has to equal 3 times 2. And they do. If two ratios are truly in proportion, you can cross multiply and they will be equal. But now let's take a look at 4/12, our last farmhouse. Does 4/12 equal 1/2? No, it doesn't. And how do we know? 4 times 2 does not equal 12 times 1. Have you seen that sign? This is equal, and this is not equal to. Oh, excuse me. So we have 4 times 2 does not equal 12 times 1. And is that true? 4 times 2 is 8. 12 times 1 is 12. Does 8 equal 12? No way. No way. So that's why this farmhouse does not belong on the ratio and proportion block. Now, what I'd like to show you is I'd like to show you how to solve a few ratio and proportion problems. Let's say that we have 3 is to 6 as question mark is to 2. Now, we already know that that question mark means 1. And sometimes what will happen is instead of a question mark, they'll put an X or a Y or a Z or an N. Now, don't get nervous. Don't get nervous. All it is substituting for a number. That's all that letter is doing. And if I want to know what this number is, I can easily find it out because I know that 3 times 2 has to equal 6 times some number, doesn't it? And 3 times 2 is 6, and 6 times what equals 6? Well, 6 times 1, so that question mark has to equal 1. There's another way to find it out. I can say 3 times 2 is 6, and then 6 divided into 6 goes 1 time. So the x equals 1. Remember that? We did a similar routine with percent. Let's try another one. Let's say that we have 5 over 10 is to 1 is to question mark. What are we going to do? We're going to multiply the diagonals and divide by the third number. Multiply the diagonals and divide by the third number. So 10 times 1 is 10. And then 5 into 10 goes 2. And what's the question mark equal to? Why, the question mark is equal to 2. Now, it's very, very important in problems of ratio and proportion that in order to solve these, you need to have 3 numbers. If you only have 2, it's going to be awfully hard to solve the problem. So you need to have 3 numbers to be able to solve the problem. Now, there's something else I want to tell you about ratio and proportion. I like to set up a problem. 1 chicken to 2 pigs equals 2 chickens to 4 pigs. That's the way I like to set it up. The chickens to pigs, chickens to pigs. But not everybody likes to set it up like that. Sometimes someone will set up the problem as 2 pigs is to 1 chicken, as 4 pigs is to 2 chickens. Is that okay? Is that all right? Can I set it up like that? Well, if I want to compare pigs to chickens, I sure can. Will it give me the same, is it telling me the same kind of thing? Well, it's putting the pigs first. But take a look. Can I multiply 2 times 2? And will it equal 4 times 1? Sure does. If I multiply 1 times 4, will it equal 2 times 2? Sure does. Let's see another way that sometimes people will set up a proportion. Sometimes they'll say 1 chicken is to 2 chickens as 2 pigs is to 4 pigs. What do you think about that one? Here we've got chickens on one side and pigs on the other side. We have farmhouse 1 on the top and farmhouse 2 on the bottom. Is that okay? Let's give it the test. And what's the test? Cross multiplying. 1 times 4, does it equal 2 times 2? 1 times 4 is 4. Does that equal 2 times 2? 2 times 2 is 4. Does it equal? Sure does. Sure does, so that's okay. Now what about this one? Let's say that somebody said 1 chicken to 4 pigs equals 2 chickens to 2 pigs. What about that proportion? Would that be accurate? Would they be in proportion? Is there a balance there? What are you going to do to test it? You're going to cross multiply. So let's take a look. Does 1 times 2 equal 4 times 2? 1 times 2 is 2. 2 does not equal 8, does it? No. So this one, no, this one would not be okay. This one would not be okay. Now, one of the signs that I'm using here, I want to make sure everybody knows that, is that as we get into higher math, we no longer use this multiplication sign. Sometimes we do, but now we have more choices. We can use a dot like this, and the dot is not on the bottom, it's kind of in the middle of the line. We can use a dot, and that means multiply. Another thing that means multiply are parentheses. And something else, you could even have just one set of parentheses, and that also means multiply. So if you see me using a dot now, that means multiplication. Multiplication. Okay, we've talked a lot about chickens and pigs, but I think it's time to talk about something extremely important, and that's the price of eggs. Let's say that 8 eggs cost, how much should they cost? I think that 8 eggs would cost $1.20. Tell me, how much will a dozen cost? So here we have 3 numbers. We've got a ratio and proportion problem. And how am I going to do it? Well, there are a couple of different ways I could set it up. I think I'm going to set it up the first way, comparing eggs to money. So over here is eggs to money, and then over here will be eggs to money. I want to know how much a dozen eggs will cost. So I'm going to put 8 eggs cost $1.20. And what am I going to put in here? Am I going to write a dozen? No, how many eggs in a dozen? 12. I'm going to put 12 here, and here I could put an X or a Y or a Z or an N or a question mark. And what am I going to do? Well, I'm going to multiply the diagonals and divide by the third number. Multiply the diagonals and divide by the third number. And that will tell me what this question mark is equal to. So let's multiply the diagonals. We have 12 times $1.20. So we have 0, 4, 2, 0, 2, 1, 0, 4, 4, 1. 1, 2, 1, 2. And what are we left with? We're left with 1, 4, and 40 hundredths. And what are we going to do next? We're going to divide by the 8. Divide by the 8. So we divide 8 into 14 goes once. Let's see, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, that's 64. We're going to bring our decimal place up, and we're going to get 64, 0. Here it is, $1.80. A dozen eggs will cost $1.80. Now, I know it looks like an awful lot of stuff on the board, so I'm going to erase a few things. And I want to show you another way that we could set up that proportion. Here we go. Instead of saying eggs is to money, as eggs is to money, what we could say is we could say 8 eggs is to 12 eggs as $1.20. Here's the corresponding money, the eggs and the money corresponding is to question mark. And how do we solve this? easily. We multiply the diagonals and divide by the third number. Will we get the same answer? We sure will. Here we did. Multiplied the diagonals, divided by 8. We multiplied the diagonals and divided by 8. And what? How much does a dozen eggs cost? If 8 eggs cost $1.20, why, they cost $1.80. So, I use ratio and proportion a lot in teaching. Oftentimes I need to balance test scores out, and it really helps me a lot. I know some people use it in baking. There's lots of different ways where you can use ratio and proportion. And one place that you can use ratio and proportion is in this workbook. This is the Learn Math Quickly. This is workbook 2, and you will be doing the homework on pages 42 to 44 and pages 45 to 47. You're also going to find that there will be a ratio and proportion test. And at the end of the ratio and proportion test, you will find plenty of mixed word problems in fractions, decimals, percent, and ratio and proportion. So good luck, and I'll see you next for video 9.